Have you ever stepped into a home and immediately felt uneasy? As if the air became heavy, conversations drained your energy, or something just didn't feel right. As we age, a powerful truth begins to emerge. Not every space is meant for us, and not everyone deserves access to our peace. Seneca once said, "Not all storms will sink our ship, but we shouldn't deliberately sail into a storm." This is precisely the philosophy of aging, knowing to stay away from places that can harm the soul. Today, I want to share with you 4 types of homes you should never visit during your golden years. These lessons come not only from life experience, but also from the wisdom of ancient philosophers, people who understood that protecting energy is as important as protecting health. By the end of this video, you'll have enough wisdom and confidence to walk away from what no longer serves you, without guilt, without hesitation. Because old age is a time to live true to yourself, not to please those who don't know how to appreciate you. Let's explore the homes that can rob you of your happiness, and why staying away from them is one of the greatest acts of self-respect you'll ever practice. Let me start with the 2 most dangerous types of homes, places that can silently destroy your soul and dignity without you even realizing it. There are homes that carry an invisible weight, a heavy burden that clings to your spirit the moment you step inside. This isn't always about loud arguments or open hostility. No, the most harmful type of toxicity is the silent kind. The kind that hides in passive-aggressive comments, judgmental glances, and conversations that seem like discussions, but are actually more like interrogations. The kind that doesn't shout at you, but seeps into your mind, making you feel smaller with each visit. Marcus Aurelius taught, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you'll find strength. But why voluntarily place your mind in a toxic environment? Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who was once a slave, understood suffering deeply. He taught, "No one can hurt you without your consent." When you continue to visit places that make you feel small, you're consenting to let them hurt you. In these spaces, warmth is absent, and every word you speak is carefully measured. Not because you lack confidence, but because you sense that anything you say could be used against you later. As you age, time becomes more precious than ever. You spent many years giving, nurturing, and investing in relationships. But the harsh truth is that not all relationships are built on mutual love and respect. Some people only keep you around when it's convenient for them. They welcome you into their homes, but not because they cherish you. They do so because they see you as useful. Confucius said, "Don't befriend those who are not your equal." But here, we're talking about people who don't see you as a true friend, but merely as a convenient tool. Perhaps they call when they need a babysitter, someone to help with errands, or a person to lend money during a crisis. But when you need something as simple as a warm conversation, a little companionship, or just a phone call to check in, suddenly they're too busy, too preoccupied, or nowhere to be found. Lao Tzu taught, "Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is wisdom. Be wise enough to recognize you are worth far more than what you can do for others." Too often, seniors find themselves trapped in these one-sided relationships, mistaking obligation for love. But let me tell you, love without respect is not love at all. Seneca said, "Associate only with those who will improve you." Take a moment to ask yourself, do the people in your life lift you up, bring you joy, and appreciate your presence? Or do they only reach out when they have something to gain? I remember the story of Robert, a 73-year-old retired teacher from Ohio. For many years after retirement, he was always ready to help everyone in the community. But gradually, he realized that these friends only appeared when they needed him to do something. One day, he decided to experiment. He stopped making proactive calls, stopped offering to help with home repairs or grocery shopping, and waited to see who truly cared about him as a friend. The result was heartbreaking but liberating. Only 2 people, his neighbor Tom and an old friend from his teaching days, called to ask how he was really doing. From then on, he focused his energy on these 2 true friends and felt his life became lighter and more meaningful. A home where you are only needed, not valued, will slowly drain you physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It will make you question your own worth, leaving you feeling invisible even in the company of others. Zhuangzi has a story about a carpenter and an ugly ancient tree. This tree lived for thousands of years because no one cut it down for lumber. When the carpenter asked why, the tree replied, "I am useless, so I exist." Sometimes becoming useless in the eyes of those who only exploit you is the wisest way to protect yourself. Now, let's talk about the other two types of homes. Places that may not directly harm you, but slowly drain your vitality and zest for life. As you age, peace of mind should become your most carefully guarded treasure. Buddha taught, hatred cannot be stopped by hatred. Only love can stop hatred. But why voluntarily place yourself in spaces filled with hatred and negativity? There are homes that aren't just filled with disagreements. They are arenas where every conversation turns into confrontation, where gossip spreads like wildfire, and where gratitude is buried under layers of bitterness and complaint. Step into such a space, and you'll feel tension before a word is spoken. The air is thick with hostility. Energy is drained, and no matter how much positivity you bring, it's slowly eroded by the weight of constant conflict. Lao Tzu wrote in the Tao Te Ching, "When people do not fight, no one in the world can fight with them." But in these homes, people don't seek peace. They seek someone to blame. I remember the story of Dorothy, a 68-year-old woman from Michigan. Every week, she would visit a family of relatives on the other side of town. Initially, she thought maintaining family relationships was important, but every time she drove home, she felt exhausted. In that house, there was never a normal conversation. Everything turned into arguments. Everyone complained about politics, criticized neighbors, and created a heavy atmosphere. Dorothy realized she wasn't just witnessing negativity, she was absorbing it. One day, she decided to stop the weekly visits. Instead, she invited the positive relatives to her home for Sunday brunch. The change was remarkable. She had more energy, better mood, and felt life was more meaningful. You don't just witness negativity, you absorb it. It clings to you like smoke after a fire, seeping into your thoughts, emotions, and even your outlook on life. Theophrastus, Aristotle's student, wrote about characters. He described chronic complainers as those who are never satisfied with what they have, always looking for faults in everything. When you enter your golden years, you begin to understand that peace of mind isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. You've lived too long, endured too much, and gained too much wisdom to allow someone else's chaos to steal your tranquility. There comes a time in life when a person must recognize the weight of their presence, where it's celebrated and where it's merely tolerated. In ancient Greek culture, there was a concept of xenia, sacred hospitality. They believed that how you treat travelers reflects the character of the host. But today, true hospitality has become rare. When you enter a home where your presence feels like an inconvenience rather than a joy, you don't need words to confirm it. The air is thick with discomfort. The greetings are hollow, the smiles forced, and conversations drift without sincerity. The host's eyes flicker toward the clock, their attention split between you and their distractions, and the warmth you once expected is nowhere to be found. You can sense it in the silence between words, in the way their body leans away rather than toward you, in the way your stories are met with indifference rather than enthusiasm. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Similarly, the peace of your life depends on the quality of the company you keep. Mencius, the Confucian philosopher, said, "The path is near, but people seek it far away. The task is easy, but people seek it in difficulty." Sometimes the easiest thing is to step away from places that don't cherish us. A person who has lived long enough should never beg for belonging. If you are not valued, don't insist on staying. As ancient wisdom reminds us, over time, you learn that energy is precious, and where you invest it determines the quality of your life. Every visit, every conversation, every moment spent with others is an exchange. Either something that lifts you up or something that drains you. At a home that truly welcomes you, you'll always feel seen, heard, and appreciated. You'll know it because the air is lighter, the laughter is real, and the people within are genuinely happy to share time with you. This isn't just about social visits. This is a larger reflection of life itself. The older you get, the less tolerance you should have for spaces that make you feel small, for relationships that lack reciprocity, for environments that don't nourish your soul. Chuang Tzu has a story about a fisherman. He caught a large fish, but instead of keeping it, he released it back into the river. When asked why, he said, "My pond at home is too small for such a large fish." Sometimes, we too need to recognize that some spaces are too small for our large souls. Now, after knowing which places to avoid, let's talk about how to build a truly peaceful and meaningful life. This isn't just theory, but the art of living that sages have cultivated for thousands of years. As you age, time, energy, and peace become your most valuable treasures. Aristotle said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." And part of knowing yourself is understanding your limits. Too often, people fall into the trap of believing that every invitation must be accepted, every relationship must be maintained, and every favor must be granted. But at what cost? The truth is, not every door is worth walking through, and not everyone deserves a seat at your table. I remember Frank, 71, a retired aerospace engineer from California. All his life, he always said yes to every request, from babysitting grandchildren to lending money, from attending block parties to helping neighbors with home repairs. He thought it was kindness, but by retirement age, he felt exhausted. One day, he decided to apply Marcus Aurelius' philosophy: learn to say no without needing to explain. He began refusing unreasonable requests, stopped attending neighborhood barbecues that tired him out. The result? He had more time for fishing and gardening. His true hobbies, better health, and most importantly, those who truly cared about him remained. Confucius taught, if you walk with two people, surely one can be your teacher. But the important thing is choosing the right people to walk with. As you age, one truth becomes clear. Your time and energy are your most valuable assets. The people around you shape your happiness, health, and peace of mind. Surround yourself with positive individuals, and life becomes lighter and more fulfilling. But if you keep toxic, negative people in your life out of obligation, they will drain your spirit and weigh you down. Booker T. Washington said, "Associate with people of good quality, for it is better to be alone than in bad company." There's a powerful lesson that comes with age. Solitude is not loneliness. It is a gift. Seneca wrote, "The greatest thing in the world is to know how to belong to oneself." Finding joy in solitude is mastering the art of being in your own company. Too many people fear being alone, mistaking it for isolation. But solitude is where true wisdom and peace are found. The difference between loneliness and solitude is the difference between emptiness and fulfillment. Some people seek constant companionship, filling their days with distractions just to avoid sitting with their own thoughts. But this only leads to shallow interactions and an endless chase for validation. The person who embraces solitude understands that happiness doesn't come from others. It comes from within. As you age, one of the greatest burdens you must free yourself from is guilt, the silent thief of happiness. Too many people carry the weight of unnecessary obligations, feeling compelled to maintain relationships, attend gatherings, or endure situations that drain them simply because they feel guilty about walking away. Epictetus, who experienced slavery and understood freedom, taught, "No one can hurt you without your consent." This includes guilt imposed by others. Choosing your happiness isn't selfish. It's an act of self-respect. Stoic wisdom teaches us that inner peace is the foundation of a fulfilling life. Imagine Margaret, a 67-year-old woman from Texas, receiving an invitation to a family reunion where she knows she'll face criticism about her decision to move into assisted living, passive-aggressive comments about selling the family home, and the feeling of never being good enough. She used to go out of obligation, convincing herself it was her duty to endure it. But one day she chose differently. Instead of driving 3 hours to step into a familiar storm of negativity, she stayed home, made a warm cup of herbal tea, listened to her favorite country music, and spent Sunday afternoon in peace. At first, guilt knocked at her door, but she didn't answer. And for the first time in years, she realized how liberating it was to choose herself. As you age, the spaces you choose to enter and the spaces you choose to avoid become more important than ever. Your environment shapes your emotions, influences your mood, and ultimately determines your well-being. The energy of a place seeps into your soul, either nurturing your peace or slowly eroding it. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt tension in the air? Have you ever left a gathering feeling drained rather than uplifted? That's the power of your surroundings. Lao Tzu wrote, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." Sometimes, prioritizing peace means letting go of things that once held meaning. It might be downsizing from a large house full of painful memories to a smaller, simpler space where you can finally breathe. It might be stepping away from relationships that no longer align with your values. It might be spending more time in nature where the wind and rustling leaves bring more joy than any crowded room ever could. These choices aren't about isolation. They're about liberation. As Seneca said, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. How much unnecessary stress do we endure simply because we fear change? Ultimately, prioritizing peaceful environments is about making decisions that support your happiness and well-being. Peace isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. Life is too short to spend time in places where you're not respected, not welcomed, or drained by negativity. As you grow older, your peace and self-worth should be your top priorities. This isn't about becoming selfish or isolated. This is about becoming wise. Wise enough to recognize that not everyone deserves access to your precious energy. Wise enough to understand that no is a complete sentence. Wise enough to choose quality over quantity in all relationships. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind in every situation." Old age gives you the greatest power, the right to choose what serves your soul and reject what doesn't. The environment you allow yourself to be in will shape your mind, soul, and overall quality of life. So choose wisely. Choose spaces that honor your presence. Choose people who treasure your wisdom. Choose peace over drama. Choose love over obligation. Because at this age, you've earned the right to live on your own terms. Don't let anyone take that right away. The power to create a fulfilling, peaceful life has always been in your hands. Use it wisely. Your old age isn't for pleasing others. It's for pleasing yourself. And that's perfectly okay.